Let's talk about Border Patrol apprehensions between ports of entry at the southwest border of terrorists.
And I have to say, it is pretty rich hearing the gentleman from Georgia express her concern about terrorism when she literally was selling defund the FBI t-shirts and hats on her website for $30 a piece. $30 for the shirts and another $30 for the hats. You don't get both for just the $30. The leading law enforcement agency tasked with combating terrorism in this country and keeping people safe, and she wants to defund it. So I am not going to take any lectures from her on securing this homeland from terror. And with that, I yield back.
That isn't even the first time that Marjorie Taylor Greene's attempt to generate some sort of viral gotcha moment with an expert backfired in her face.
Were you aware of this?
Congresswoman, as I said, I haven't seen the photos that you're holding up before.
Maybe, well, I posted them on my Twitter account. It's public. You know, maybe
I don't
you guys
spend a lot of time on Twitter.
Well, you know, I'm sure you do, because the Department of Homeland Security, organized with other offices, has censored many Americans, including myself.
I'm not part of the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, see, Republicans love to talk about things like securing the border and backing the blue, supporting law enforcement, and then Speaker Mike Johnson comes out and announces that they're making major cuts to all of those different agencies.
We also advanced, as you've seen the summary, cuts to some of the agencies that we believe are really overreaching and have been turned in some ways against the American people. We're going to cut 3% from DOJ, 7% from the ATF, 6% from the FBI, and 10% from the EPA, and that's just a start. We have a lot more priorities and things that we need to advance, but the reality is, as we all recognize, is that we have to grow the House majority, take back the Senate for the Republican Party, and win the White House. And I'm here to tell you the reason we're optimistic is we believe those things are going to happen in November.
The issue here, fundamentally, is the inability of those in the MAGA world to see the disconnect between what they're being told by the people they love in politics and what those people are then actually doing. So you come out here, you say secure the border, you say back the blue, and then you actually defund it. You block the bill that would actually secure the border.
The president actually just got off the phone with me right before the show, and he said he has spoken to you about this deal and that he is against it, and he urged you to be against this deal. He was President Trump was extremely adamant about that. Your reaction to that, given the fact that, look, he knows how to do this enforcement stuff. You don't need some new bill coming out of the Senate to get the border enforced.
Yeah, President Trump is not wrong. He and I have been talking about this pretty frequently. I talked to him night before last about the same subject. We don't have the text of whatever the Senate has cooked up yet.
We need to remember that a lot of these people have been trained to think that the government can't do anything right. Anything the government does is probably going to make things worse. So honestly, the government shouldn't accomplish much. And in the absence of that, well, what do you expect from your government leaders? Best case scenario, you just appreciate the things that the politicians you've been told to trust say. They're saying the right things about the people that you hate or fear, and that at the end of the day is enough, even if it doesn't match up with what they then do with the power that they've been given. And the thing about it that's so weird about Marjorie Greene is she's not even a Mike Johnson. She's not a Matt Gaetz. She's not a Tom Cotton. None of them are particularly bright bulbs, but they know at least enough to make it kind of sound good, while Marjorie Greene continually humiliates herself at hearings like in the clips you saw.
Well, I posted them on my Twitter account. It's public.
And it might lead to one wondering, well, then how is she in the position that she's in? If she is so incapable of putting two thoughts together, why is it that she remains in power? Why is it that she still has fans amongst the MAGA right? Well, partly again, we can't discount the fact that the bar is buried so low that she can't help but trip across it. They don't expect good points. They're not interested in what the rebuttal is, and if they say something that doesn't make Marjorie Greene look good, they're almost certainly not going to see it in the first place, and so they're not actually expecting much out of Marjorie Greene. If she just speaks in a really loud voice against someone that they don't trust, that's probably going to be good enough. We also have to bear in mind that the system is set up in a way that protects people like Marjorie Greene. She doesn't have to be skilled or intelligent or curious. She's protected by something more powerful than all of those things, and that is gerrymandering. Don't forget that Marjorie Greene comes from one of the reddest districts in the country. I think it's actually in the top 10, which means that as long as she is keeping the most radical people in the Republican base in that district happy, which she can, even with humiliating performances like that, she doesn't have anything to worry about. She's not going to be primaried successfully by another right-winger. They're not going to be any more skilled than her at giving the MAGA right the red meat that they want. And then it doesn't matter what Democrat ends up going up against her, because the district is so red that it could be Jesus running as a Democrat and the Republican is still going to win. And the truly difficult thing about doing something about gerrymandering, actually passing reforms, is the only politicians that are in a position to do that are the ones who got in under that system. Are they really going to be interested in reforming it if that means that it's easier for people to challenge them? If their grasp on power becomes more tenuous as a result of the reforms that they could choose or not choose to pursue? At the end of the day, Marjorie Greene is just a symptom of the larger problem, which is gerrymandering and the variety of other ways that our system is so rigged to produce the outcomes that it has, that it gives us the candidates that it does. And we can look at Marjorie Greene and we can laugh at all of her clownish, inept, childish attempts to generate some sort of viral moment, and we should. I intend to. But we should bear in mind that until the system is changed, she's probably not going anywhere. And there's every reason to believe that people who are as inept, so unqualified, have all of the horrendous mix of qualities that she has, are going to continue to fill seats in Congress. In the end, we may look back and think that Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't actually even the worst of them.
You know, what is wild to me is that this word patriot seems to be getting co-opted for propagandists, because that's what they do. All right. So we're going to talk about what my colleague from Georgia, she talked about misinformation, and I don't know what she was talking about, but nevertheless, we can look at her own tweets and we can find plenty of misinformation.
The hypocrisy of Marjorie Greene is astounding, and Representative Jasmine Crockett is having none of it in this House Oversight Committee meeting.
But the biggest problem that we have is we have people that sit in this chamber and they spread the misinformation. If it was left in Russia or China, whatever. But the problem is that you have people that sit in positions of power and they have a $2 million budget. You think that they would call on some staff to find out if they were telling the truth about the things that they're putting on social media, but instead it works for their rhetoric. And as we talk about rhetoric, something else that was appalling to me was this insinuation that when you look at the Ukrainians, which is why we're having problems getting the funding that Ukraine needs, is because people in this chamber push misinformation and disinformation. They want to talk about the Ukrainians got all of these Nazis. Well, let me tell you something. You can find Nazis anywhere. You can find them right here in the United States. In fact, a bunch of the people that they're calling victims and prisoners of war, also known as convicted felons from January 6th, I have an article that I'd like to enter into the record by unanimous consent that says neo-Nazi January 6th rioter pleads guilty.
Without objection.
Thank you so much. So here's the point. We have people in this chamber that are actually causing just as much a threat, if not more of a threat, to our own country. We should be talking about holding our very own accountable for the misinformation and disinformation that they are spreading, whether it's coming out of China, whether it's coming out of Russia, or whoever is peddling it. It is a problem because right now what we see is that people are dying and we cannot get the support that we need from the public because they continue to peddle lies. And I'm tired of it because I didn't come to this chamber to play games. I came to this chamber to answer to the people, the American people, and to make sure that we keep the American people safe.
And now they're going on about Russia and Vladimir Putin is Hitler, and they say that's not a good thing. And can we give a round of applause for Russia? Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. We are honored, we are humbled and excited to welcome to the stage right now for our first speech, and we love to get to know her much better. I think this is going to be the beginning of something great. The representative from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Terrifyingly, Trump supporters seem primed and ready for the prospect of a dictatorship that might well be swept into power, not with the vote, but with violence. Do they understand the implications of what that would mean for America? Possibly not, but it seems like many people are perfectly willing to eradicate their own rights and freedoms in order to uphold and affirm white supremacy. They will butcher our system of government to establish a hierarchy that puts them on top.
Would you rather have 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president?
4 years of Trump as a dictator.
How come?
From all that I saw him do, I like everything he does. And Joe Biden, I haven't really approved of nothing he does. He seems like he likes to back down on everything, and he can't hold his power.
Donald Trump did say, as we talked about this on his first day, he was going to be a dictator. And would you rather have 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president?
4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator if he's going to make the country better. I believe what Donald Trump says, and, if he says it, then I'll go with it. And if he wants to be a dictator, then so be it. He's the president of the United States of America, and he would be my president.
And you, ma'am, would you rather have 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president?
I think Joe Biden is not a president. I think that he is told what to do. I think that the government, there's a huge, big, more issue going on than just him. He's being told what to do. I feel like they're just trying to control, and I think Trump would be, I love Trump. I think everything he says is honest, and he's looking out for each and every one of us and the country's best interests.
The former president said on day one he's going to be a dictator for a day. How does that sit with you?
It's just great because, there's a verse in the Bible that says, because sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the hearts of the sons of men are fully set to do evil. He has to, from day one, start kicking butt and putting things back into place. Not out of vindictiveness, but because things have just gotten so crazy. We're no longer having just the choice between right and left. We have a choice now between right and absolute craziness.
In this era, ultranationalism, performative Christianity, and an unwavering commitment to Donald Trump are prerequisites for political success in the Republican Party. The terrifying thing is that it's not just one or two people spouting nonsense that can be easily dismissed. We're looking at a movement of people who are comfortable sharing space and breaking bread with self-avowed white supremacists. People used to use words like Nazi and fascist as hyperbolic insults, but when a former leader tries to actively overturn an election while promising political violence, you have to wonder where things will end.